There has absolutely been a ton of news and buzz and press and social media talking about Provo, Utah, the economy, the quality of life, the good, the bad. If you're considering a move to Utah County, you have probably looked into Provo, Utah. Let's talk about the pros and the cons of living in Provo, Utah. And we'll keep track of how many pros versus how many cons. You can weigh them for what you think is good or bad for you. And I hope that this will help you make a decision as you're picking a place to live in Utah County. First off, let's talk about my #1 favorite pro of Provo, Utah, and that's the scenic beauty. If you jump on any app like All Trails, there are tons of riverfront hiking and biking and running and walking. The mountains are literally your backdrop to everything that you'll see every day. Great hikes, great outdoor. We've got a little ski resort called Sundance that you've probably heard of, maybe not from the skiing, but from the Sundance Film Festival that's 20 to 25 minutes away. Beautiful, natural, outdoor beauty. However, that actually leads to one of the cons that a lot of people mention, and that's seasonal allergies. When you're out in an area that has so many trees and so many plants and bushes and things around, we do have a tendency to get some seasonal allergies. Let's go to #2 con, as we're talking about air quality. Provo, Utah is in the center of Utah County, and Utah County is known for what we call inversions. There's kind of a valley, a bowl that we live in, and pollution and bad air can get trapped down in this valley as low pressure systems in the winter hold all of that pollution in. And sometimes in the winter months, you can really end up with some gray, yucky, unhealthy air that's just trapped in this bowl until a storm comes through and pushes it out. And it can be a little bit disheartening at times. We have bad air in the winter, then we finally get into the spring where the air quality is a little bit better and you get hit with hay fever and seasonal allergies. Then we get some good air in the summer, but it can be a little bit too hot to actually get out and enjoy it. Then we're into the fall where we've got allergies again, and then we're into the winter where we have an inversion again. So air quality, honestly, for me personally, that's been a really frustrating thing in this area. The cities and towns and counties and state are really working to clean up the air. They're passing clean air quality and working with businesses and factories and public transportation to clean that up. But that can be a fairly large con. While we're talking about air quality and the public transportation that cities have done, let's actually hit a pro and a con here. We'll start with the con. Provo can have very congested traffic lanes, especially when there's a home college football or basketball game. The streets can just get packed together. Now, on the flip side of that, we actually have a really cool transit system called UTX, which is a bus system that runs all the way down from the light rail system in Orem, Utah, runs up through Orem, around through Provo, touches UVU and BYU and a bunch of shopping and areas like that, and it's completely free to ride. They have dedicated lanes, so you can kind of zip to where you're getting to go. You don't need a pass, you just hop on, hop off. That's a great quality. But probably weighing those two together, the cool UVX system and the light rail and bus system versus the congestion of traffic on the roads. For me, I drive a car more than I jump on the bus, and so traffic can be a little bit cumbersome and slow at times when I want it to be faster. So I would say, for me personally, that con probably outweighs the pro of the bus and public transportation systems. And I talked a little bit about weather when I was speaking of seasonal allergies and the cold winters and hot summers. That's actually on my list. It's kind of a pro for me because I love the changing seasons. I snowboard with my kids. I love snowshoeing and cross-country skiing, so winters are awesome. Spring and fall are beautiful with changing colors of leaves and in the fall, and all the reds and oranges and yellows up in the mountains that you can see from your house. You know, beautiful, beautiful hiking trails and things in the spring when the weather's cool. So I love the seasonal weather, but for some people that are coming from somewhere like Phoenix or Vegas or Southern California or Tennessee or places like that, we have some pretty extreme weathers. I mean, we'll have 5 days a year where we reach triple digits. A lot of July and August, we're up at, high 90s as temperatures, but you will go from those hot summer temperatures to wintertime temperatures where we'll have 3 weeks sometimes where the high does not get above freezing. One thing to know when you do move here to Utah County, don't be fooled by the warm flashes in the spring. You'll get this big storm and then all of a sudden it'll be 60 degrees and it'll feel so nice and you'll think, yes, warm weather's finally here, and then 2 days later it'll be snowing. So the weather can be really cold, hot in the springtime. I love the seasons and the weather that we get here. Take that into consideration. And boy, it seems like I'm hitting con. So let's talk about some of the other pros. The economy. Provo, Utah has consistently been ranked among the top cities in the country for economic viability, future job outlook, all of these things, startup environment. In fact, I was looking at a report. Provo was ranked the #1 city in the country for business startup environment. We've consistently been in the top 10 for economic outlook. We have good taxes, business legislation and red tape is low. Provo and Orem, which is kind of a sister city, consistently rank in the top cities in the nation for entrepreneurial spirit and even outrank some of the big tech hubs like San Jose and Oakland and places like that. So excellent business and economic outlook in Provo. That is definitely a pro. And I think a lot of the reason that we have such a strong economic outlook is the universities that are in the area. Now, this can be a pro or a con, so I'm going to let you judge. We have Utah Valley University and BYU Provo that are located within about 15 minutes of each other. Between those two schools, there is just under 80,000 students. UVU has amazing entrepreneurial programs, international business, so does BYU. A lot of people are thinking business and growth and economics and finance, so we get kind of this vibe in the area. You go to some other cities around the country and if you can say like, oh yeah, I have this startup that I'm running, everybody's like, oh, you got a business startup. Here in Provo, you say that to somebody walking down the street and they're like, yeah, I got 4, So Provo is definitely a business startup and entrepreneurial mindset type of place. Let's jump on another pro of living in Provo, and that is the safety element of the city. There is a very low crime rate. Whatever site you're looking on to determine crime rates and danger and things like that, Provo will always be very low for the size of city that it is. Which brings me to the next pro about Provo, and that's that it's a very family-friendly city. And for me, that's not just about having the traditional American family of a mom, a dad, and a bunch of kids. A family-friendly city, for me, is a place where people are just friendly and outgoing and helpful, and Provo is definitely that place. We've raised 7 kids here, if you can imagine that, and absolutely loved it. The school systems are good, everybody's helpful, and it's just a quality place to live. Let's jump to another pro of Provo. As we're talking about the quality of life here, there are a ton of cultural events and farmers markets and craft fairs and outdoor entertainment. We already talked a little bit about the scenic beauty and the hiking and biking and things like that. There's lots of reservoirs around for stand-up paddle and kayaking. We love walking through the art shows and festivals and things that are just all around. Every summer we get the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival. Around Labor Day we have the International Sheepdog Festival. There's several clean comedy clubs. There's places like the Velour where there's just stand-up musician, kind of open mic. People get up and play guitar and sing and things. So very diverse entertainment and cultural activities. But while I'm talking about entertainment and outdoor entertainment and things like that, I've got a list of cons. Provo does not have a tremendous nightlife. If you're looking for nightclubs and bars and concerts and things like that, Provo may let you down just a little bit. There are things to do. It just depends on what you're looking for. Okay, let's talk about cost of living, because that's always a question that people have. Compared to where I live or compared to the nationwide average, what's the cost of living like? Now, Provo is slightly above the national average for cost of living. However, when you're looking at the national average, they're comparing everything. usually, depending on the report that you look at. So in Provo, the housing cost is about 11% above the national average. Utilities are actually about 12% below the national average, which is pretty amazing considering we have hot summers and cold winters. And groceries usually is ranking about 0.5% to 1% higher than the national average. But if you're coming from any other large city, our cost of living will be significantly less than what you're experiencing in those places. Considering that we're a little bit above the national average, I would rank the cost of living probably as a con to living in Provo. However, on that same topic, Utah in general is known for very low taxes, which helps with that cost of living number as well. And the final point that I want to talk about is healthcare. Provo ranks very high for healthcare. We have the Utah Valley Hospital, we have the Timpanogos Hospital just over in Orem. We have very specialized services in Provo. There's also another primary children's hospital that's planned. This will be just a little bit west of Provo, a little bit north of Provo, maybe 5 minutes out of the West Provo area. There will be a huge primary children's hospital facility that's coming in. Now that's going to be a few years down the road, but even without that, Provo ranks very high for healthcare and access to medicine. So there you go. We've got our pros, we've got our cons. I'll let you decide how important each of those is to you. If you have any questions at all about living in Utah County or specifically living in Provo, use the Calendly link down below in the description to book a consultation with me. We can talk about what you're looking for in your lifestyle, and I can make suggestions of where you can find that in Utah County.